Get out of first class. Attendant slapped black woman, then froze when she said, I own the P. Clark. Before we start today's story, comment below where you're watching from and hit subscribe if you haven't already. You won't want to miss what's next. Animals like you don't belong in first class. The flight attendant, Tessa Morgan, slapped Aria Lawson hard across the face. The sound of the slap was loud, and Aria's head jerked to the side from the force. That's what thieves get, Tessa said angrily, her voice dripping with meanness. She quickly snatched Aria's boarding pass out of her hand, ripped it into tiny pieces, and dropped the scraps onto the floor. Then she kicked them at Aria's feet like they were trash. Get on your knees and pick up your fake ticket, Tessa ordered with a sneer. Then crawl back to the cheap seats in economy, where you really belong. The first-class cabin grew silent. No one spoke. About 30 passengers sat wide-eyed in their big leather seats. Many of them had already pulled out their phones, recording the whole thing like it was a show. Aria stood quietly in her simple outfit, just jeans and old sneakers. Her face stung from the slap, and a red handprint glowed brightly on her cheek. Someone in the cabin whispered, Finally, someone is dealing with these scammers. But none of them knew the truth. In just 8 minutes, Tessa Morgan would discover that she had just slapped the CEO who owned the entire airline. Have you ever seen someone's prejudice, their unfair judgment, completely destroy them in the most spectacular way? This was going to be one of those moments. It was 3:52 p.m. The flight was supposed to leave in only 23 minutes. Aria stood still. She didn't bend down. She didn't move to pick up the pieces of her ticket. She didn't say a word. Her stillness only made Tessa angrier. Did you not hear me? Tessa shouted, her voice shrill and echoing through the cabin. I said, get on your knees and pick up your fake garbage. Tessa marched closer and grabbed Aria by both shoulders, trying to push her downward. Aria resisted. She stood tall, refusing to bend. That made Tessa furious. She shoved Aria hard against one of the seats. You're only making this worse for yourself, Tessa said, pointing a sharp finger into Aria's chest. Criminals like you always do. The word criminals floated in the air like poison. People's faces twisted with judgment. They believed it without question. Tessa lifted her voice again. Security! We have a violent passenger refusing orders. Every head turned. All eyes were on Aria. Chloe Mercer, a lifestyle influencer in seat 1B, saw her chance. She pulled out her phone and started live streaming. Chloe was blonde, polished, and wore expensive clothes. She angled her phone just right and whispered into it like she was giving her fans breaking news. Oh my God, you guys, Chloe whispered, her voice full of fake concern. There's literally a scammer in first class right now trying to steal a seat. The flight attendant is handling it absolutely perfectly. Chloe's live stream already had 847 viewers. The number shot upward quickly. Comments rolled in like a flood. Finally, someone with a backbone. Good. These people always try this scam. Love that flight attendant. Call the police. Then the cabin manager arrived. His name was Alan Pierce. He was 52 years old, his hair a bit gray, and he moved with the confidence of someone who had been in the airline business for over 20 years. He looked serious, like a man who believed he had seen it all before. What's happening here, Tessa? Pierce asked, his voice calm but commanding. He didn't even glance at Aria. He acted like she was just furniture. Attempted seat fraud, sir, Tessa said quickly. She refused to show any real identification and immediately became combative when I tried to verify her fake ticket. Pierce finally turned his eyes toward Aria. His gaze was cold and full of judgment. He scanned her from head to toe. Torn jeans. A simple white t-shirt that looked cheap. Sneakers that were clearly old and worn. To him, she didn't look like someone who belonged in a $2,000 first-class seat. Ma'am, Pierce said sternly, I'm going to need to see your boarding pass and government-issued identification. No delays. She destroyed my boarding pass, Aria answered quietly, her voice calm despite the crowd around her. Tessa burst into laughter, cruel and mocking. A few passengers chuckled along with her. Because it was obviously fake, Tessa snapped. Look at her, Alan. Does she look like she belongs here? Several passengers nodded eagerly, agreeing with Tessa. An elderly man in a fine three-piece suit and shiny gold watch spoke loud enough for all to hear. Disgraceful. Absolutely disgraceful. In my day, people knew their place in society. His wife clutched her expensive purse closer to her chest and whispered loudly, I don't feel safe with her on this P. Clark. Chloe's live stream jumped to 2,400 viewers. She zoomed in close on Aria's face, focusing on the red handprint. She narrated like she was reporting the news. The poor flight attendant is just trying to do her difficult job. Some people just have no shame. The comments scrolling on the live stream grew uglier and uglier. Typical entitled behavior. Arrest her right now. Ban her from flying forever. Make her pay for delaying the flight. Alan Pierce pulled out his radio and spoke in a voice full of authority. Ground control, this is Flight 447. We need an immediate security response at Gate 42A. Possible fraud and disorderly conduct. Aria reached slowly into her worn leather bag. For just a moment, something shiny caught the cabin lights. It looked like a badge or official card. Sir, she began quietly, if you just let me show you my... Keep your hands visible. Pierce barked sharply, his voice loud and aggressive. Do not reach for anything without permission. At that moment, a tall security officer named Derek Hayes arrived. His frame was so big that he seemed to fill the aisle. His hand rested casually but firmly on his handcuffs. Behind him came two airport police officers in uniform. Passengers gasped and leaned forward to get a better view. The departure board blinked in the background. Flight 447. Departure in 18 minutes. What's the exact problem here? Officer Raymond asked, his tone firm and professional. Clear case of fraud and disorderly conduct, Pierce explained confidently. She refused to move to her actual seat and became threatening when questioned about her fake documentation. Officer Raymond fixed his eyes on Aria with suspicion. Ma'am, do you have valid government identification and a legitimate boarding pass for this seat? She destroyed my boarding pass, Aria said calmly again. Tessa stepped forward triumphantly. She was putting on a performance now. Because it was fake. She shouted. I've been a flight attendant for 20 years. I can spot scammers a mile away. This woman is trying to lie her way into first class. This is exactly why flights get delayed. Several passengers clapped loudly, approving of Tessa's words. Chloe's live stream passed 5,000 viewers. The comments poured in non-stop. Arrest her immediately. These scammers ruin everything. Hashtag first-class fraud needs to trend nationwide. Sue her for delaying the flight. The cockpit door opened, and Captain Robert Kane stepped out. He was 60 years old, tall and dignified, with silver hair and a uniform covered in medals from decades of service. His very presence commanded respect. He looked over the chaotic scene with disappointment. Ms. Morgan is one of our most trusted flight attendants, he announced firmly. If she says there's a problem, then there is definitely a problem. Aria's phone buzzed loudly in her bag. The screen glowed through the leather, showing missed calls. 15 calls, all from the board of directors. She ignored them. Pierce's radio crackled again. Alan, this is Denise Walsh from Regional Management. I'm getting multiple reports about a major situation on Flight 447. What's your status? Pierce spoke into the radio, loud enough for everyone to hear. Completely under control, Denise. Standard fraud attempt. We're removing the passenger immediately per policy. Denise's voice came back. Absolutely zero tolerance, Alan. Premium passengers pay for premium service and safety. Remove her and ban her from all future flights. The cabin cheered and clapped. Passengers nodded to each other. They thought they were watching justice. Officer Raymond stepped forward with his handcuffs ready. Ma'am, gather your belongings and come with us. You can try to sort this out at the gate. Actually, Aria said quietly, her calm voice cutting through the noise. "I'd like to make just one phone call first." Tessa laughed nastily. "You can call whoever you want after you're banned from every airline." Chloe zoomed in again, her stream climbing past 12,000 viewers. People online shared the video across platforms. The comments were like a raging storm. "This is taking too long. Just drag her out. Tase her. Justice served." Hashtag first class fraud is trending. Tessa, now playing to the cameras, walked over to the floor where the torn boarding pass pieces lay. She ground them under her heel like cigarette butts. "This is what we do to fake documents," she declared loudly. She picked up some of the scraps and threw them in Aria's face. "Here's your first-class ticket, princess." The cabin erupted into cheers. Someone began clapping slowly, and soon many joined in. Aria brushed the scraps from her hair without flinching. She looked at Tessa and said softly, "You might want to look more carefully at what you just destroyed." "I looked plenty," Tessa shrieked. But then her eyes darted to one large scrap on the floor. The letters Attendant execu were visible. Tessa's face went pale. Quickly, she kicked the piece under a seat before anyone else noticed. Pierce's radio buzzed again. "Alan, this is Denise. Corporate headquarters is calling emergency meetings. Social media attention is exploding over Flight 447. Status." Chloe's live stream hit 15,000 viewers. She whispered like a sports announcer, "Looks like police are about to arrest her." Finally, more passengers raised their phones to record. The scene was being captured from every angle. Online, it was spreading like wildfire. Just then, Gate Supervisor Naomi Clark arrived, looking out of breath and worried. "What's going on here? I'm getting calls from multiple departments." "Routine fraud removal," Pierce said quickly. "Everything's fine." But Naomi looked at the police, the passengers recording the chaos in the cabin. She shook her head. "This doesn't look routine, Alan." Captain Douglas walked forward very angrily. "Ms. Clark," he said, "this is my air Clark, and my crew makes the decisions. We do not talk or make deals with liars. Security, take her away now. I want the P. Clark to leave on time." The pressure was huge, like a storm cloud about to burst. Officer Raymond stepped closer to Aria. His eyes were hard, his mouth tight. He looked ready to snap the handcuffs onto her wrists. "Last chance, ma'am," he said firmly. "Come quietly, or we will carry you out in handcuffs." The digital countdown screen flashed above the cabin. 16 minutes until departure. Outside the Air Clark windows, workers in bright vests were pushing carts, loading bags, and checking wires. Inside, more passengers tried to board. But the police officers blocked the aisle, making a human traffic jam. People craned their necks, standing on tiptoes, whispering, curious about the drama unfolding in first class. Chloe sat a few rows back, her phone at 7% battery, but her live stream still running. "Oh my gosh, you guys," she whispered into the camera. "This is like watching live justice. Some people are so entitled." Thousands of strangers online typed furiously in the chat. Their comments scrolled so fast Chloe could barely read. Asterisk, white flight attendant, black scammer every time. Asterisk, this is why we can't have nice things. Asterisk, press charges. Make an example of her. Asterisk, lock her up already, she's wasting everyone's time. The words weren't just mean, they were knives, cutting through the air. Tessa, the senior flight attendant with her hair in a tight bun and her uniform crisp and sharp, grabbed the intercom. She spoke with a smug confidence that echoed in every seat. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is Tessa Morgan, senior flight attendant. We apologize for the delay. A passenger attempted to use fake documents to sit in first class. Police are handling the situation now." Her announcement filled the entire aircraft. All 300-plus passengers heard it. Right away, shouts rose from the back rows. "Just get her off already. We're going to miss our connections. Why can't people just follow the rules like the rest of us?" The voices blended into one angry crowd sound, like a stadium booing a player. Aria's messenger bag sat open by her side. Inside, papers peeked out, thick cardstock, shiny seals, and what looked like official credentials. But nobody noticed. Their eyes only followed the drama like it was a TV show. Officer Raymond took a deep breath and made his choice. "Ma'am," he said in a voice of law and authority, "you are under arrest for trespassing and disorderly conduct." He reached toward Aria's arm, his hand firm and sure. But then, crackle. Denise Walsh's voice buzzed from Pierce's radio. She usually sounded calm and in control. Not now. This time, she sounded urgent, almost panicked. "Alan, stop everything immediately. Do not remove that passenger. Corporate is holding emergency meetings about this exact flight." Pierce's eyes widened. His thumb twisted the volume knob down fast. Static vanished. He tried to look normal, but several passengers near the front row had heard it. "What did she say?" a man demanded. "Did she say don't remove her?" Pierce waved them off. "Radio malfunction. Probably interference from another flight." His voice sounded thin, too quick, like paper ripping. But Naomi Clark, the airline manager, had also caught the words. Her face tightened. She stepped closer and whispered urgently, "Alan, maybe we should wait. Maybe we need to." "No waiting," Captain Douglas barked, cutting her off. His cheeks burned red with power and anger. "This is my flight, my schedule, my decision. Officers, arrest her now." The crowd inside the P. Clark grew restless. Voices rose like thunder. 15,000 people watched Chloe's live stream, and hundreds of passengers inside the P. Clark shouted, demanded, pointed fingers. Pressure crushed down from all sides. Aria looked slowly around her. She saw angry eyes. She saw phones raised like weapons. She saw Officer Raymond's handcuffs glinting under the cabin lights. And then, she smiled. It wasn't the smile of someone scared. It wasn't the smile of someone beaten. It was a calm, mysterious smile, the kind that said, "I know something you don't." "Officer Raymond," Aria said evenly, her voice soft but clear. "Before you arrest me, may I please show you something from my bag?" "No," Tessa shrieked. "She's trying to distract you. She probably has a weapon." The crowd gasped. A ripple of fear passed through the P. Clark. People shrank back, clutching their bags tighter. "Ma'am, keep your hands where I can see them," Raymond ordered, his own hand hovering near his holster. "I understand your caution," Aria said gently. "But once you see this, everything will look very different." The countdown clock blinked. 14 minutes. Chloe's livestream viewers had shot up to 18,000. Comments flew by. Asterisk, "What's she hiding?" Asterisk, "This is crazy." Asterisk, "Don't trust her." Asterisk, "Wait, maybe she's telling the truth?" The cabin was silent. Everyone leaned forward. Aria moved slowly, carefully, her hands steady as the sea before a storm. She reached into her bag and pulled out a worn leather folder. It looked old, but important, with years of use pressed into its brown cover. "No sudden moves," Raymond warned again, his voice tense. Aria flipped the folder open calmly. She lifted the first document into the air. It was a laminated identification badge. The shiny surface caught the light and flashed across the ceiling. Naomi Clark leaned forward, squinting at the small letters. Her eyes scanned the words. Her lips parted. Her breath caught. Her face drained white. "Oh my God," she whispered. The badge read, Aria Lawson, Chief Executive Officer, American Airlines. For a moment, time froze. Tessa's confident smirk shattered. Her eyes went wide, her jaw hung open. That's fake," she sputtered. "Anyone with a computer can make a fake badge." But Aria didn't stop. She reached back into the folder and pulled out another sheet of paper. "This is my official appointment letter," she said calmly. The paper gleamed with embossed golden letters of the American Airlines logo. "It is signed by the chairman of the board, dated January 15, 2021. It states I am the CEO of American Airlines. The cabin gasped. Pierce's radio slipped from his hand and clattered to the floor. Captain Douglas lunged forward, snatched the paper, and scanned it desperately. His eyes moved quickly across the words, the seals, the signatures. His mouth dropped open. His face turned gray like ash. This can't be real, he whispered, his voice trembling. Chloe's live stream chat exploded. Asterisk, is this real? Asterisk, no way she's the CEO? Asterisk, they are all so fired. Asterisk, this is the greatest plot twist ever. Asterisk, I'm literally screaming right now. Arya didn't flinch. She calmly pulled out her personal phone. She dialed a number with steady fingers and pressed the speaker. The ringtone echoed in the cabin, bouncing off the walls of silence. Janet Pierce speaking, Office of the CEO, American Airlines. Hello, Janet, this is Arya, she said softly. I'm on flight 447. Could you confirm my identity for the crew and passengers? Of course, Miss Lawson, Janet replied. Ladies and gentlemen, you are speaking with Arya Lawson, Chief Executive Officer of American Airlines, appointed by the board in January 2021. She is traveling today for tomorrow's quarterly board meeting in Fort Worth. The silence afterward was thunderous. You could hear the hum of the engines, the nervous shifting of clothes, the beating of hearts. Tessa's face turned green. She backed away slowly, as though Arya had turned into fire. I didn't know, Ms. Lawson. I had no way of knowing who you were. You slapped the CEO? Officer Raymond asked Tessa in horror. You physically assaulted the head of the airline? If you're enjoying this story, make sure to subscribe and share your favorite part in the comments below. And don't forget to drop a heart to show your support. Arya calmly reached back into her folder and pulled out a thick document bound with seals. This, she said, is my stock ownership certificate. It proves I own 12% of American Airlines. I am the second largest shareholder in the company. Captain Douglas reread the appointment letter again and again, his hands trembling. The seals were real. The signatures were genuine. The truth was undeniable. Miss Lawson, he whispered, his voice cracking. We had no idea. Of course you didn't, Arya replied, her voice calm and sharp. Because none of you asked. You saw jeans and sneakers, and you assumed I was a criminal. Chloe's livestream viewer count ticked past 35,000. A hashtag spread across the internet like wildfire. #0reveal. But Arya wasn't finished. She pulled out one final folder. It was stamped in red. Confidential, Board of Directors only, discrimination investigation. This, Arya said, holding it high, is a record of 47 complaints against this exact crew in 18 months. Gasps filled the cabin. Passengers leaned forward in shock. Arya flipped it open. She showed photographs and written reports. Here is Tessa refusing to serve food to a Muslim passenger during Ramadan, saying it was company policy. She turned the page. Here is testimony about Pierce removing a Hispanic family from first class because of their children, while white families with louder children stayed. She turned another page. Here is evidence of Captain Douglas making inappropriate comments about women passengers' clothing. The P. Clark was dead silent, except for the heavy sound of truth. Pierce fumbled with his radio. Denise, please respond. This is a catastrophe. Arya's phone rang again. She answered the speaker. This is Leonard Foster, chairman of the board. Arya, are you safe? Yes, Leonard, Arya said calmly. But there are serious violations happening on Flight 447. Tens of thousands are watching live. I'm watching too, Leonard replied. The entire board is meeting immediately. Arya, I am devastated this happened to you. Tessa's shoulders shook. Tears ran down her face, not from sadness, but from terror. Please. I didn't know. I have a family, bills, medical debt. Please don't ruin me. Arya's voice was firm. Her words cut like steel. Your job is to treat every single passenger with dignity and respect. Not just the ones who look like they can afford first class. Pierce's radio finally made the connection he had been trying for so long. Denise Walsh's voice came through, loud, urgent, and scared. Alan, whatever you're doing right now, stop. Just stop everything. That passenger you put in handcuffs, she's Aria Lawson. She's not just any passenger. She's the chief executive officer. She's the boss of the whole airline. The board of directors is watching the live stream right now. You just created the biggest public relations disaster in airline history. But it was already too late. Officer Raymond hurried over and carefully unlocked the handcuffs. He stepped back respectfully, his hands shaking a little. Ms. Lawson, he said softly, I apologize for this. I really do. This whole thing was a mistake. We were given wrong information. No, Aria said in a voice that cut through the cabin like steel. She didn't shout, but her tone carried so much power and authority that everyone froze. This wasn't just a mistake. This wasn't confusion or bad communication. This was discrimination. You treated me like a criminal because of how I look, and because of wrong ideas about who deserves respect. That ends today. Then Aria turned and looked directly into Chloe's live stream camera. Everyone watching could see her face. My name is Aria Lawson, she said clearly. I am the Chief Executive Officer of American Airlines. For the past 3 years, I have been flying on our own P. Clarks in secret. I do this to see what passengers really go through when the staff doesn't know who they are. And today, I saw exactly what I feared. Some of our employees treat passengers unfairly. They make judgments based on race, skin color, or money. They assume who is worth respect and who is not. I experienced it myself today. And this stops now. The live stream audience exploded with comments. The number jumped from 30,000 to 40,000, then higher. People all over the world were shocked. Aria stood tall, calm, and confident while everyone else looked nervous or scared. Captain Douglas was pale, desperately scrolling through his phone, trying to read corporate policies. He knew what this meant. His career was over. Tessa, the flight attendant who had slapped Aria earlier, sank into a seat and broke into loud sobs, knowing her entire life had just been ruined. Pierce was repeating over and over again, like a broken record, this cannot be happening. This just cannot be happening. But Aria was not finished. She slowly pulled out her phone and held it up to the live stream camera. I need you all to see this, she said. From the moment I boarded this P. Clark, I recorded everything. Every insult, every cruel word, every illegal action. I have it all saved. This is a high-quality recording, continuous for 37 minutes. On the phone screen, everyone could see the audio app showing 37:00 of recording. It was proof. It was perfect evidence. Chloe's live stream shot up to 50,000 viewers. The comments came in so fast the screen was hard to read. People were saying things like, this is history. This is justice. She caught them. It was now 4:07 p.m. The flight was supposed to leave in 8 minutes. Aria stood in the center of the chaos like a calm storm. Employees trembled around her. Passengers whispered in shock. Her phone showed 23 missed calls from the airline's leaders, board members, and lawyers. She ignored them all. Since we're all here, Aria said in a commanding but steady voice, let's talk about what this really means. Last year, American Airlines made $48.97 billion. That sounds like a lot. But our profit margin is very small. That means every single mistake, every lawsuit, every bad story in the news costs us huge amounts of money. This situation is not just an embarrassment, it's a financial disaster. The live audience was glued to every word. Do you know how much one discrimination lawsuit costs? On average, $2.3 million. That includes legal fees, settlements, fines, and everything else. But this case is even bigger. She paused, letting the weight of her words sink in. Incidents like this go viral. They spread around the world. On average, Stock prices fall 4.2% in the first day alone. For American Airlines, that means we lose about $890 million immediately. Gasps filled the cabin. Captain Douglas's face went gray as he realized that even his pension was gone because of this. But Aria wasn't finished. She pulled another document from her folder, one with the official seals of the U.S. Department of Transportation and the Federal Aviation Administration. What happened today isn't just wrong, it's illegal. This broke the Air Carrier Access Act, the Civil Rights Act, and several federal aviation rules. Each one is a federal crime. Each crime can carry up to 2 years in prison. Tessa lifted her tear-streaked face, stunned. Yes, Aria continued firmly. You assaulted a passenger. You destroyed valid travel documents. You filed false reports with the police. You discriminated based on race and status. All of these are crimes. Officer Raymond stepped forward nervously. Ms. Lawson, do you want to press charges? Later, Aria said with calm authority. Right now, I want everyone here to understand the true cost of discrimination. She pulled out one final document, thicker than the rest. She opened it to reveal pages of charts, graphs, and statistics. This is an internal audit, she explained. For the past 18 months, we secretly investigated how passengers are treated. We found not just isolated incidents, but patterns of discrimination all across our flights. And yes, 47 incidents with this exact same crew. The cabin went dead silent. Here are the facts, Aria continued. Passengers of color are 340% more likely to be questioned about whether their tickets are real. They are 280% more likely to be asked for extra identification. And they are 450% more likely to be kicked off flights for so-called bad behavior, even when white passengers do the exact same thing and are left alone. The words hit the crew like punches. Pierce's radio slipped out of his shaking hands and clattered to the floor. Meanwhile, Chloe's live stream exploded with outrage. Thousands of comments flew across the screen. This is racism caught live. How can this be legal in 2024? Boycott this airline. This is why I don't fly anymore. Aria's phone rang again. She smiled, almost coldly, and showed the caller ID to the camera. Leonard Foster, a powerful board member. She answered, putting him on speaker. Aria, Leonard said quickly. The whole board is meeting. We'll agree to whatever you want. Just tell us how to fix this. The company's reputation. Leonard, Aria interrupted. I'm going to give this crew 2 choices. And they will decide right now, in front of the world. The cabin grew so quiet that you could hear people's breathing. Option 1, Aria said. You are suspended without pay. You must do 120 hours of training about bias and fairness. You will write a public apology in newspapers and on social media. Your record will show this incident forever. And you'll be on probation for 2 years. The crew stared at her in horror. Option 2, she continued. You are fired immediately. You will never work in the airline industry again. You will personally pay for damages, stock losses, lawsuits, legal costs. You may face federal prison. And you will testify in court about what you did. She looked at her watch. You have 30 seconds to decide. Panic spread through the crew. Denise's voice came through the radio again, shaking with fear. Alan, corporate lawyers are calling. The stock is crashing. CNN is asking questions. The government is opening an investigation. What is happening? Pierce stammered into the radio. Denise. The passenger is Aria Lawson. She's the CEO. The real CEO of the airline. Silence. Then Denise gasped. Oh my God. Do whatever she says. Whatever she wants. Aria's phone buzzed with breaking news alerts. American Airlines CEO slapped by flight attendant. Stock plunges. The Department of Transportation opens an investigation. Civil rights groups call for a boycott. The live stream soared to 75,000 viewers. Time's up, Aria said firmly. Make your choice. Tessa was the first to speak, her voice broken by tears. Option 1. Please, Option 1. I have children. Captain Douglas nodded quickly. Option 1. Yes. Option 1. Pierce whispered. Option 1. Good, Arya said coldly. You made your choice. It's now public record. 75,000 people witnessed it live. She turned to Chloe's camera. But this isn't just about 3 employees. This is about fixing an entire system that allows this behavior. And that starts today. Just then, her phone rang again. The caller ID, Secretary of Transportation, U.S. Government. She answered the speaker. Ms. Lawson, this is Secretary Evelyn. We are opening a full investigation into discrimination across all airlines. We want your help. You have my full cooperation, Arya said. But we are not waiting. Change begins now. She faced the live camera. From this moment forward, American Airlines will do the following. Every crew member must complete 40 hours of training about bias within 60 days, or they will be fired. We will launch a new passenger rights app so travelers can report unfair treatment instantly. Every case will be reviewed by a new Office of Passenger Equity, run by civil rights lawyers. We will spend $50 million every year on programs to fight discrimination and increase diversity. Executive bonuses will be tied to how fairly passengers are treated, especially minority passengers. The live stream erupted with cheers and praise. People wrote comments like, "This is leadership. Finally, someone is using power for good. Every airline needs to do this." Pierce's radio crackled again. Denise's voice was almost breaking. Alan. Arya. The stock is down 6% and still falling. The board wants to know, is there anything else we can do? Arya looked around the cabin, the crew who had humiliated her, the passengers who had laughed, and the camera capturing it all. Yes, she said. There is one more thing. Everyone here who saw me being mistreated and said nothing, who laughed, who assumed I was guilty, you need to remember this moment. Because next time you see someone treated unfairly, you must decide, will you be part of the problem or part of the solution? She closed her folder and slipped it back into her bag. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a flight to catch. We are already 8 minutes late. It was 4:12 p.m. Departure was in 3 minutes. The cabin, once filled with prejudice, now looked like a corporate crisis room. Arya's phone buzzed non-stop. Calls from news networks, civil rights leaders, government offices. Chloe's live stream hit 85,000 viewers, and climbing. Arya stood tall, her voice strong with executive command. Ladies and gentlemen, before this flight departs, consequences begin now. She opened her phone, tapped her conference call app, and said, Leonard, connect me to the full board. Every single member must hear this. Chairman Foster's voice came through the speaker, crackly but strong. In the background, the other board members were shouting at each other in heated voices. It sounded like chaos in a boardroom. Arya, we're here, Foster said. The whole executive board is present. The lawyers are here. The media team too. Good, Arya answered firmly. Her voice was calm, but it carried power. Because I'm making big changes right now. We're not waiting for long meetings or reviews. We're not waiting for the next quarter. Change starts today. Her eyes shifted to Tessa Morgan, who was sitting slumped in her chair. Tessa's face was a mess of mascara running down her cheeks. She had been crying so much that her shoulders still shook. Tessa Morgan, Arya said, her tone like steel, you are suspended without pay starting today. You must report to Human Resources within 48 hours for disciplinary action. What you did broke federal civil rights laws. It also broke company policy. Tessa nodded quickly, tears dripping off her chin. Yes, ma'am. I understand. I'm so sorry. Arya didn't soften. She turned next to Alan Pierce, who looked pale and nervous. Alan Pierce, you are no longer a manager. You are demoted to ground crew, effective immediately. Your pay is cut down to entry-level wages. And before you ever dream of supervising people again, You will complete 160 hours of sensitivity training. Alan's face crumpled. Miss Lawson, please. I have a mortgage. I have kids in college. This will destroy me. Aria's eyes flashed. You should have thought about that before you treated me like a criminal based only on how I look. Alan lowered his head. He had no answer. Then Aria faced Captain Kane. His decorated uniform showed years of service. His gray hair and lined face carried the pride of a long career. But Aria's voice cut through all of it. Captain Kane, you are stripped of your senior captain status. From now on, you are assigned only to short domestic flights. Your pay is cut by 40%. You will undergo a psychological evaluation and bias training before you can ever fly internationally again. Kane looked like his entire career was vanishing before his eyes. Ma'am, I've been flying for 37 years, he pleaded. And in 37 years, Aria shot back, you never learned how to treat passengers with dignity. That ends now. On the live stream, thousands of people cheered in the comments. They were watching this unfold in real time. Justice is served. Finally, someone in power is doing the right thing. This is accountability in action. Aria turned back to the phone conference. Leonard, she said to Foster, I want new policies across all American Airlines flights in 30 days. She laid them out clearly. First, every crew member will wear a body camera when talking to passengers. All footage will go to a new passenger rights division. Second, if there's a discrimination complaint, the employee is suspended immediately until the investigation ends. No exceptions. Third, we will partner with civil rights groups like the NAACP and the ACLU. These organizations will have real power to investigate and enforce penalties. On the other end, Foster hesitated. His voice carried worry. Aria, the legal team is concerned about liability. What if this opens us up to more lawsuits? The liability of letting discrimination continue is worse than any lawsuit, Aria said firmly. These rules are not negotiable. Her eyes turned to Naomi Clark, who had been standing silently nearby, stunned by what she had witnessed. Naomi, Aria said, you are promoted to Regional Operations Manager, effective immediately. Your first assignment is to carry out these policies. Naomi's eyes widened. Miss Lawson, thank you. I won't let you down. I know you won't, Aria replied, because when everyone else saw me as a problem, you treated me like a human being. Her phone buzzed with breaking news alerts. American Airlines stock rebounds as CEO announces reforms. The Transportation Secretary praises Lawson's bold action. Civil rights leaders call Lawson Leader of the Year. Officer Raymond stepped forward respectfully. Ms. Lawson, would you like to press criminal charges against the crew? Aria looked thoughtful. The livestream audience of 90,000 watched closely. No, she said finally. I want something stronger than charges. I want them to learn why their actions were wrong. I want them to become advocates for change, not just examples of failure. She faced Tessa directly. Tessa, as part of your probation, you will speak at diversity training across the airline industry. You will tell your story, every part of it. You will help prevent this from happening again. Tessa looked up through her tears. I will. I promise. I want to make this right. Good, Aria said softly, but firmly. Accountability is not about punishment. It's about growth. Her phone rang again. She looked at the caller ID. Diana Monroe. Aria smiled faintly and declined the call. I think we've had enough cameras for today, she joked. The digital departure board updated. Flight 447, departing in 1 minute. A new flight attendant appeared, Elena Ruiz, looking nervous but professional. Ms. Lawson, I'm Elena Ruiz, your new attendant for this flight. How can I make you comfortable today? Aria noticed her rainbow pride pin. She smiled. Elena, just treat every passenger exactly the way you just treated me, with respect and dignity. That's all anyone wants. Yes, ma'am, Elena said with relief. The first-class passengers, who had stayed silent during the chaos, now approached Aria. An older businessman said, Miss Lawson, I owe you an apology. I made assumptions too. I was wrong. Others admitted, I should have spoken up. I'm sorry I only filmed instead of helping. Thank you for your grace. Chloe, still live streaming, came closer. Miss Lawson, my audience wants to know, how do you feel right now? Arya looked into the camera at the 95,000 people watching. I feel hopeful. Not because justice was done today, but because change is possible when people choose to grow instead of holding on to prejudice. This isn't about me being CEO. This is about every single person who's treated like I was today, but has no power to fight back. Single mothers, students, immigrants, elderly people, they deserve dignity too. The comments flooded in, she's a true leader. This is what justice looks like. Every CEO should learn from her. Arya returned to her rightful seat, 2A. The new captain's voice filled the cabin. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Captain Marcus. We're cleared for departure to JFK. Flight time will be about 5 hours and 30 minutes. As the P-Clark began to move, Arya opened her laptop. She started writing a memo to every American Airlines employee. Subject, today we choose change. The transformation had begun. 3 months later, Arya sat in her corner office on the 47th floor of headquarters in Fort Worth, Texas. Behind her, framed newspaper covers decorated the wall. The slap heard around the world, the Lawson effect, how one CEO changed aviation. Her assistant entered with a thick report. Miss Lawson, the quarterly discrimination numbers are ready. Arya opened it, scanning quickly. The results were stunning. Discrimination complaints down 78%. Minority passenger satisfaction up 45%. Employee training completion at 99.7%. Stock price up 23%. But the best numbers were simple ones. 0 passengers slapped. 0 boarding passes destroyed. 0 passengers humiliated based on looks. Her phone buzzed with a text from Tessa Morgan. Ms. Lawson, I finished my 40th bias training today. Tomorrow I will speak in Detroit. Thank you for giving me a chance to grow instead of just punishing me. B. Arya smiled. People could change if they were given the chance. Chloe Mercer, the passenger who live streamed, now had 2.3 million followers. Her page read, Witnessing Change. Promoting Equity. Learning every day. She posted interviews with passengers sharing positive stories. The comments were now supportive and hopeful instead of toxic. The ripple spread far beyond American Airlines. United, Delta, Southwest, every major carrier copied Arya's reforms. They were called the Lawson Protocols: body cameras for crew, automatic suspension for discrimination, mandatory bias training, and accountability for executives. The Department of Transportation made them federal law. Secretary Evelyn called it the most important civil rights step in aviation history. Then Arya's phone rang again. Diana Monroe. This time, Arya answered. Ms. Lawson, Diana said warmly, I've been trying to reach you. I want to interview you about your powerful story of justice and reform. Diana, with respect, Arya replied, this isn't about me. It's about millions of people who face discrimination every day without cameras or CEOs to defend them. That's exactly why I want to talk, Diana said. Your story can inspire so many. Arya thought for a moment. What if we do something different? What if we highlight people everywhere who are making change in their own lives? I love that idea, Diana agreed. 2 weeks later, The Lawson Effect aired as a special Diana segment. It featured teachers, store managers, and neighbors who had acted against discrimination because Arya inspired them. Each story started the same way. I saw what Arya Lawson did, and I decided to act too. Arya went back to flying often, dressed simply, just watching. Crew members recognized her, not as a CEO in a suit, but as the woman who changed everything. On a flight to Chicago, a young black man in a hoodie walked into first class. A flight attendant Arya had never met smiled brightly. Welcome aboard, Mr. Evelyn. Can I help with your bag? No suspicion. No questioning. Just respect. Arya opened her laptop. She began writing her weekly blog post, a practice she had started after the incident. Why change requires courage from everyone. She wrote, 3 months ago, I was slapped and humiliated because people made assumptions about me. But here's what I learned. Real change doesn't happen only when someone powerful speaks up. Real change happens when everyone chooses to see others differently. Here's my challenge. Notice the invisible people. The cashier with 2 jobs, the janitor who speaks 3 languages, the security guard with an engineering degree. Listen instead of judging. Speak up when you see wrong. Because the next Arya Lawson may not be a CEO. She may need you to be her voice. She posted the blog. Comments flowed in immediately. Stories of people standing up, choosing kindness, protecting others. Her phone buzzed again. A text from Leonard Foster. Board meeting at 3. CNN wants to discuss our annual report. Discrimination down 89% across the industry. You changed everything, Arya. She smiled and typed back. We all changed everything. That's how progress works. The flight that was supposed to last 5 hours and 30 minutes had changed an entire industry in less than 4 months. Arya Lawson had answered the call to justice. Now she was asking the world to answer it too. If this story moved you, please subscribe for more kind and powerful stories. Watch our next video for another unforgettable journey. And share this story with someone who needs it today.